Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson are back with a new movie called Die My Love that is about the struggles of marriage and the postpartum depression. Let's review it. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. Die My Love is a new movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. Two heavy-hitting actors that I'm always interested in seeing what they're doing. Anytime they're doing any kind of movies, I'm curious. I'm very curious. And Die My Love looked very interesting. The trailer for this movie grabbed me immediately. It looks pretty highbrow, I guess. It's definitely not a horror movie. It's more of a dramatic thriller type movie. I mean, it's got some really intense scenes in it. But I'm looking forward to diving into it with you. And Lynne Ramsay directed this, who directed We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is a very powerful movie. I dug that quite a bit, actually. And I reviewed it quite a few years ago on my channel, so check out that review if you want to. But let's dive into this review with a quick plot synopsis. And I do believe it comes out this weekend. I'm not sure as of this recording, but yeah, comes out soon. So Jennifer Lawrence, she plays Grace. She got married to this guy, Jackson, played by Robert Pattinson. They live in this small little house out in the country. This really just reminded me of, honestly, like where I grew up in Columbus, Mississippi. And I lived in this kind of off-skirt type town called Caledonia, Mississippi, which is like a podunk town out in the middle of nowhere. And you would see houses like this that were just spread out, you know, and there's like nothing around them for miles. Jackson, you know, he's the breadwinner. He's out, working, trying to bring home money. And then Grace is stuck at home all day, and she is suffering from postpartum depression. They have a child together. There are not many characters in this movie at all. Sissy Spacek and Nick Nolte are here, and I believe they're playing Jackson's parents, but they do have a relationship with this family. Nick Nolte doesn't have much to do in here. He suffers from Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and he's got a small part in here. I don't think it's that significant. Sissy Spacek plays Pam. She has a bigger part. There are some heart-to-heart moments between her and Grace, but these two characters are more of like, I guess, dressing for the movie, seasoning. But most of this movie is spent really with Grace. Yeah, he pops in and out, but they definitely have a strained relationship, and there's really no connection between the two of them, which teeters into, I guess, one of my big problems with the movie, just because it's sort of hard to connect with them as a couple. Although that's not to say that there aren't couples like this that just have no connection, that just have this massive wedge between them. And maybe that's really what this story is trying to highlight. Where I think it falters a little bit is it does seem like initially Grace and Jackson were close. We don't really spend too much time in that period of their marriage. There's more like a montage type section. But, you know, most of the movie, like 95% of the movie is just Grace kind of losing her mind, you know, mentally. She's having heavy mental issues throughout this movie. And I do think Lynne Ramsay was the perfect director for a movie like this. One thing I do love about the movie is the direction and the cinematography. There's definitely a creative choice taken by Lynne Ramsay, giving this movie sort of like almost like a Technicolor type look. Not necessarily, but there's moments, especially with the exterior shots, that feel like that, almost looking like a painting, which is really cool. I appreciate any movie that has sort of an artistic stamp visually, and boy does this one. And I think that's probably the strongest aspect of the movie. And I do believe Jennifer Lawrence was actually pregnant when she was doing this movie. And she's fearless in this movie, unafraid to pretty much bear it all, physically and mentally. It's interesting because she did this comedy, which is awesome. I think it was last year. And there's a scene where she like comes out of the beach and she's completely naked. And it's kind of a shock to the system, especially for a comedy like that. And then here's a movie that's completely different tonally. And she's bearing it all for completely different reasons. I appreciate, and I know this is, you're going to laugh at this, okay? But no, seriously, From an acting standpoint, trying to give a performance, I appreciate actors that are not afraid to do what is necessary for the character. And if that means taking your clothes off, then so be it. And that's what she does for this movie, you know? And it fits in with the character, because this character is literally losing their mind throughout this movie. But I don't think this movie tries to demonize either character because of who they are, Jackson or Grace. I just think it's the situation and the stress that this young couple is going through, and then you're going to have temptations. One aspect to this movie too is Grace is starving sexually. And not too many movies explore this avenue, because not every woman goes through this when they are going through postpartum depression. I think women deal with that aspect in different ways, and a lot of it is hormonal. But in this particular case, Grace, it's an issue for her, big time. But this movie deals with it, I think, in a very mature way. Now I got to get into some of the things I don't like about the movie. And really, it's kind of one big thing. I do think it tries way too hard to be artistic. And you know what? I think on the page, the idea that you're going for might not come across as being, I guess the word maybe conceited, that type of direction, or just maybe too art house. I do think this movie does let the art get in the way of the actual story, and you might find it boring for a good portion of the movie. And I think pacing wise, it does kind of drag along. There are some artistic choices with the character, especially Grace, where scenes where she's like crawling in the field. And I understand, why they're trying to show that she's got mental issues. But I do think the movie is kind of plagued with a little bit too much of this, getting in the way of the actual story. Not that you can't follow the story, but you're kind of bored by the story, okay? And don't get me wrong, guys, I love highbrow art house type movies. If you look at my channel, I've reviewed so many of them, and I'm usually on the like or love side of things with those movies, like Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, Rose Glass. I could go on and on. I tend to love these filmmakers and the movies that they put out, okay? But even I can get kind of annoyed and bored by art for just the sake of art. So that's my issue with this movie. It's definitely not the worst movie of the year. Don't get me wrong. There are really, really shit movies that come out every year. This is not in that category. I do appreciate the filmmaking. I think the filmmaking is very strong. And you can see Lynne Ramsay's voice in this movie. And I did get echoes of We Need to Talk About Kevin. This is a director that likes to lean on mental health. And I think she does that quite well in this movie. But I do think it can get a little bit up its own ass, okay? I guess that's the nice way I'm trying to say this. The best way to get my point across so everybody understands. And sometimes when you have actors that are just trying to swing for the fences with a performance, because when you're doing, let's say you do like freaking 10 takes, you might get 10 different performances. And it feels like in this movie, they were given the opportunity to just really go nuts, go hog wild. I even mentioned to my wife that this actually feels like one of those acting exercises. If you've watched like acting classes, and when they'll do just like an exercise with a partner, some of the scenes in this movie with the two leads felt like that. Okay, let's do a take where you just give me everything you got, and that's the take that was in the movie. That's what it feels like. Sort of reminded me of Michael Scott in The Office when he's taking his acting class, Threat Level Midnight. I digress. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a humdrum, even though I think it has high quality filmmaking, but storytelling, it falters just a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to give it a humdrum. If I would have reviewed this movie the second after I watched it, I probably would have rated it lower. I'm glad I didn't. And usually when I'm watching really artistic movies like this, I like to let them breathe for a day or two. Because if my mind starts just going back to them and thinking about them, which my mind did with this movie, then it can sort of lift my rating a little bit. And that's what it did. I did appreciate the filmmaking, okay? So I'm sure the opinions on this movie are going to be all over the place, and I dig that about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think of Die My Love in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do FIFA on Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my social support, on Patreon, become a channel member, buy me coffee. You know, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdum out.